Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Shailesh, once again bringing you live emotional well-being series. We are all one. And today I have got a topic which is very, 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 very important because it's close to everyone, because that is what we thrive, that is what we exist, and that is what we evolve on, which is we call it life. LIFE means. So I'm going to tell you what does it means to me first before I go to our amazing guest speaker that today we have, which is going to talk about life with us. What's life to her? What's life to everyone? And everybody is different. But let me tell you my version of life. As I was telling, LIFE means live it forever, live it. Love is for everyone, but most importantly, live innerly for evolvement, because we are all humans. We always evolve. So life to me is all about inner evolvement. And when we do an inner evolvement, we understand and we uncover more about ourselves, more as a human who we are. We are living beings, but as you can see behind me, there is a nature which is also called living beings, that's also lively. So we are going to get straight into this topic live, which is we have got an esteemed guest today, a guest speaker called Emilie Amber Barton, who is going to speak about life, what life means to her, what is the meaning of life, what how she defines as a common person, how she has uncovered her journey of life that we call. And ultimately, we all evolve. Ultimately, we all have a life. So welcome, Emilie, to this amazing conversation that we're going to have today with you. And to all the listeners, Emilie, I don't know how to describe her. I can tell you in one line, she's a very, very spiritual, self-realized soul. And I think we are all talking about here an inner soul, an inner life. And life, you can't see it, but you can feel it. And I think she talks a lot about energy, how energy evolves, how what is energy and all. But is life, what is life? Let's understand from her in simple terms, in common sense, what she talks about life and how she sees and how she perceives life. So welcome, Emilie, to this amazing conversation we are going to have today about the topic called life, because this is also an existence of our human being. So tell me something about first yourself, introduce to our listeners who you are, what you do, and how you have evolved since you understood what life is.
Well,
Over.
first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on the show today. It's an honor to be asked, and for anyone to even want to know what I think about life or anything at all. It's a privilege that not many people get. So thank you very much for having me today.
Mm.
And to our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in as well. Well, for a start, I guess, I'm Emilie. I'm a mother and a wife, so there's that part of my life. I've been singing most of my life, and I've also been a confidant and I suppose sort of counsel for very many people for a long time. I don't know why, but it just kind of happens. It just and because of that, it's led me on a journey of myself. Because if people are asking you for advice, you want to make sure that you're giving them good advice, and so you want to make sure that you're learning as you go too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So energy, does it means that what, how do you define life? The way you have understood, or the since whenever you understood what is life, simple terms, if I had to ask you, is there a frequency that people call that we can't see? Energy is something that we can't see, but we feel it and we get to understand. And then we realize that we exist. Or you were saying something about, there is a difference between life, lively, living, what is life and what is living. Yeah, tell me something about that.
And so I was talking about earlier how there's a difference between being alive and living.
Yeah.
And we can be alive and be not fulfilling what we know that we're capable of, or even what our inner, like on a subconscious level, that part of us knows that we're capable of. And I think in order to do that, you have to follow your heart. And sometimes that's hard because you have to go against what other people are saying, other people are telling you things, and quite often we are, programmed from a very young age, and it really depends on who we've got around us as well that can have an effect on the trajectory of our life. But at the end of the day, as you grow and mature, that responsibility becomes yours to change the way you're going. If things don't feel right, if things feel like they're going in the wrong direction, to realize that you have the power within yourself to change that for the better. Yeah.
I think you said very nicely that there is two sides to everything. Just like we say there is a day and there is a night, or there is a dark and there is a light, or there is a bright, or you say sun and moon. There are two sides. And you said exactly correctly. One, we are alive, and one, we are living. They are two different things, but people get mixed up. They say that I am alive means I am living, or I am living means I am alive. And they conflict and they entangle these two words, but they are two separate identities, and they are two separate things on its own, because alive is just your breathing, but living is something that you're not just breathing, but you are actually thriving and evolving into that air. And that's something, so
I think anyone that's actually been through this process of going from just surviving and just being alive to actually living a fulfilling life that's actually feels like satisfactory, I think it literally is a feeling. And I mean, you were talking about energy and before, and I mean, that is what it is. It is energy. It's a vibrational frequency. It's that is emitted from us when we're feeling different feelings. It always, like every emotion has a different frequency, and it feels different within us. And when you are in alignment with what you're meant to be doing, you can feel it through your entire body, your entire being. When you know that things are good, you can feel it. When you know things are bad, you can feel it. And we're meant to feel all those feelings and use them to navigate through our lives. I think a lot of people have kind of come away from that, feel like they're being judgmental if they are judging something by the way they feel rather than what they perceive as outward evidence, physical evidence. But the thing is, a lot of the time those feelings are actually based off evidence. It's just we're not aware on a conscious level of all the evidence because we're not always paying attention, but our body is. Our body is always paying attention to all the different things, and it's constantly taking in all this information from all our different senses. Whether we know it or not, a lot of the time, subconsciously, we are making decisions without even realizing it. So I think it's really important for people to take time to listen to their body, feel what the feelings are, and notice when they come up and start to understand what those kinds of different feelings mean. Because when you pay attention to those and you start to actually implement different actions based on those, you can change the trajectory of your life. It can go from dark and really difficult and mental health struggles and all that to actually being able to not just cope, but actually move through these things, learn from them and heal. And instead of looking at them and feeling like a victim, which trust me, I've done that enough, to know that it doesn't really get you anywhere to just stay in that victim mentality. It doesn't mean and disregard and invalidate what you've been through, what anyone's been through. But in order to actually move past it and actually enjoy life and really feel the fullness of what this life can be, and to be able to see the real beauty, but not just see it, but actually feel it and embrace it and live it, you have to listen to that. And we have to start listening to our intuition and reminding ourselves that we have one. Like some people have been so true to not know it's real that that when they get these feelings, they just get so confused. So
Yeah.
I think that's why we need people that do understand these kinds of things so that they can help those that don't have this knowledge, because it's so helpful and it's life-changing.
You said that very well, but what I wanted to ask you in and more a little bit dwelling in that is, how do you live the life? Like we say, just like you said, we are alive or we are living. Just like that, do we create moments first to live, or we should live the moments that comes to us? When you want to define that, or what's your experience in your own way? How have you perceived those things? Living the moments or creating the moments? How do you see that?
Well, I really think that it's a balance of both. I think
Mm-hmm.
that there are always moments every single day. Like time is moments. That's all it is.
Right.
And you can either just let it play out and experience the things that
Yeah.
come towards you and into your life, or you can also start use your surroundings and things like that and manipulate to create new situations, and with it, whatever kind of situations you want,
We want,
um,
yeah.
any kind of, and so I think it's definitely a balance of the two, finding being able to live in the moments and have that flexibility, but
Mm,
also to be able to have the ability to
mm,
create too. And I think the way to do that is by initially, for people that are really struggling,
mm,
I would say initially it is to do little things, like small little things that help build habits, and
mm,
so that you can make changes in your programming,
mm.
your psychological programming, because that's what drives everything else,
Right.
is how you choose to react to situations, or
Mm.
um, if
Yeah.
you want to create these if you wanted to create and manifest these uh, life experiences, then you have to really connect to your awareness, and I believe your intuition too, because that's where you
Mm,
get like the your aspirations and things. You feel it in your body, and
yeah.
then you figure out how to make it happen up here. So
Mm,
I think finding that spending a lot of time, not a lot of time, but spending time
mm,
alone in contemplation rather
mm,
than in because I know that for myself, I spent a lot of time when I was younger,
mhm,
thinking that I'm there in contemplation, but really I'm just there complaining
mm,
and
mm.
reliving
Yeah.
terrible things over and over and over again, and that becomes your life.
Mm.
And what you tell yourself over and over again becomes your life. And if you're just reliving bad things over and over again,
So
it, it's
basically
not really.
basically what you're saying is you got to give attention to yourself, to listen, to see where you are at, what you are doing, rather than putting more efforts in yourself, in your own inner. Mm.
But from a gentle, like loving place,
Mhm.
rather than a judgmental place, instead of being like, I can't think like this, I'm being horrible, instead of you know or I'm not capable of that, or I'm lazy, or whatever the negative things are. It's like turning it around and
Mm,
being like, well, okay, I think that I can't do that, but what can I do?
mm, mm,
Instead of thinking about the things you can't do, think about the things you can do. And maybe there is a way that we can make it so we change this thing over here, this negative, and or no, I wouldn't say avoid it, because quite often the negatives, there's a lot of lessons in there too. So I
mm.
think it's looking at things from a different perspective, learning how to do that,
Yeah.
from sometimes learning to do it from like a third person perspective, seeing yourself as
Mhm.
like you would see your friends and family,
Mm.
and the way you talk to them, it's not you would be kind, right?
Yeah.
If if someone was having a hard time, struggling, you wouldn't be sitting there going, yeah, you're right, you suck, whatever. You'd be sitting there going, no, you're wonderful, and saying all the good things about that person to encourage them, to help them
Yeah.
get out of their slump, but also so that they can be happy.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we can't always be happy, but knowing that we can be happy is a big thing in itself. That is hope, and hope is an amazing thing. It is a gift.
Yeah.
Seeing
And
that
this is
light
what,
at the end of the tunnel.
yeah, you are right. I mean, we all evolve on hope. We
Yeah.
all live our moments on hope. And we
Yeah.
also create moments on our hope, basically. But the question is, yeah, so how do you make that transition for people, who doesn't understand, forget about doesn't understand, they don't even realize what they are doing, basically. As you said before, subconsciously we do a lot of things. And as a child, as a teenage, also we do just by subconscious mind, which allows us to do lots of things subconsciously. But whether that's the right thing, whether that's the right way to put your energy and resources, or do we have to actually each time be a little bit conscious and create those moments that you want to live rather than what universe is telling you to do?
Yeah.
How do you see that one?
Well, I think for a lot of people, the first step is to realize that you need to take care of yourself.
Right.
First step is really that, like, that you are just as important as your children, your partner, your parents. Like everyone is, every single human being and animal and whatever. We're all
They're
just
all individual life, right?
all life is just as important as each other. And when you realize that you actually need to take care of yourself, I think that's something that happens as you grow older too, though. Like, when you're younger, you think, oh, I can do anything, nothing's going to hurt me or whatever, but when you're older, as you grow and mature and, become an adult, and I don't mean just become, I mean, like, it takes a while, even as, like, people say, like, oh, I'm 18 years old, I'm an adult, and I laugh.
I want to jump in here and interject you. Do you think that do we have to go that age as a factor to grow, to understand, or do you think that we could be mature with our own experiences, or because we haven't taken into consideration what we have experienced, we just think that was normal? But if we had taken a little detailed information about the experiences we have, then we could be more informed, more mature before time. Is that something that you would like to?
I think there's lots of different areas in which we mature. Not just one. When it's not just one day you're mature. I think
correct.
all different lessons, each one helps you mature. And I think in some ways, a lot of children are very mature in some ways, but not in others. There will be other areas of life where they have no idea what they're doing, no idea at all, because they're children and they're not meant to. They're not meant to be the one going to work and providing. So there's lots of different areas, like all the different areas of life. And there's even different nuanced, places within each area even. And so I think every individual is different, and lots of people have maturity levels for each different aspect of what it means to be a human, a fully formed human. And some people mature in those areas and then later mature in other areas, or the other way around, and because everyone's different. So I think but I think for the majority of people, that's what your 20s, those that 20 to 30, that's kind of when you're doing, I think, most of the actual maturing, where you're truly becoming an adult and a fully formed adult that can make their own decisions and knows that they can and actually even feels like an actual adult. Because I don't know, I just know lots of young people that are like that. They get to being 25 and they're like, oh man, I thought I was going to be old by this point. But then they realize, oh, I'm still young.
Yeah. Do you think that we all humans are designed for, as per the age, to do certain things and to think in certain way, and to have an expectations and desires in a certain way at certain age? Like, for example, or how addiction it is, like, to accumulate. For example, people like to People like to think life is something if I have accumulated lots of things, whether it is material, whether it is people, whether it is everyone, they think that is life. And some people say, no, that is not. What I have done, what I have created, that is life. It doesn't matter whether I've created little or big or not. It's not about that. They just creation for them is life. Whereas some people, accumulation is life. Like
Yeah.
you attach. So how do you see that in your way, in your perspective? When it comes
Well,
to that.
I think I mean everyone has their own philosophy.
Absolutely, but in
Has their
terms
own
of like
philosophy.
what the way you have like awakened yourself, that ultimately we all have one place to disappear. We all have one place to do. We don't take anything with us. We don't take anything with us when we disappear, but we do create memories. That's all remain with us. So when you see that end goal, like, I say, I will ask you these simple terms. Is life is an illusion? Is it a reality, or death is the only reality, or death is not an illusion but a reality? How do you see this? Or they both are illusion, or they both are realities? What's your take on it?
My take on it, uh, I don't think death is an illusion, but I also don't think it's the end.
Right.
I, I think it's
Mhm.
the end of the body, I guess, the physical body. But because I believe in soul and I believe in God, or the original source of
Yeah.
all energy, that because I believe in that, I I do believe that this physical life is not the only one.
Mm.
That there's more to
There is
it.
a life beyond it. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And whether things like reincarnation are real or not, I mean, I am inclined to believe that they are because of things that I've learned over the years. But I think when it comes to death, well, one, I think a lot of people are absolutely terrified of it, and I
Mm.
mean, rightfully so, if they have the belief that that's it.
Mm.
It is scary if that's the way that
Mm.
someone sees it. But for me, it's not. I don't see it like that. And and I don't think there is an end goal either. I think that
Sure.
the point of being here is just to live, learn, love, and experience life. To
Absolutely. Mhm.
and the purpose of the soul, I believe, is to just keep learning and growing.
Just evolving and just keep learning, basically. There
Yeah,
is no end to it. It's more like an infinite journey that we all have.
just
Mm.
experiencing this life, possibly over and over again,
That's awesome.
different ways.
Uh,
You know, it's
yeah.
and through that, I guess that's God experiencing everything in on this physical reality, because before the physical,
Yeah.
it was only God.
Yeah.
So
So with that in mind, like, okay, there is a life after death, some people say, or there is no end to the death. There is not end. Death means not end. When you look at all that things, the realities of what we perceive, some people may say, oh, that's the end. So I will just do everything in this life, and as if like there is no life, and I will just keep doing. That's what some people believe. Some people believe, no, there is lots to do. I don't mind if I don't finish in this journey. I will have to come back and finish that. These are the different concepts that everybody has got. But in terms of, if I have to ask you, how do we manage between the life and the death, or life appearance and the disappearance? So we appear when we are born, we appear, but when we are dead, they say we disappear. So let's consider appear and disappear. In between is what we have to manage, or we have
yeah,
to live a journey. How do you see that, managing that? Is it something that is in your mind, that you should have a mindset to do that? Otherwise, we will always struggle in terms of our emotional well-being, because we have to each time live a moment. And these moments can become sometimes long, big moments when you are depressed, right? You feel that why it is so happening to me, or how can I kill this moment, or how can I pass this moment? When you look at those moments, because life is moment, every moment is a life. That's all I see it.
yeah.
How do you manage it, or how do you want to manage these moments, basically?
Well, like you were saying, life is the moments in between the birth and the
Yeah.
death, right?
Mm.
And I think, well, for a start, when we're younger, we don't have control over the cards that we're dealt. At least we don't think we do. But I'm pretty sure,
No,
like,
we don't have any control. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely
we
right.
have control over the cards that we're dealt when we're younger. And as we get older, we become more and more capable of taking control of that.
Control of that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, I think just taking each day one moment at a time. And I think for a lot of people, what am I trying to say? The embracing the small things and embracing the small moments, like looking at the flowers that are growing in the grass, or looking at the sun shining on top of the water as it's glistening. I little moments like that, the more you can take in those little moments, the more the big moments are even more amazing. Like little things like that, when you're constantly looking at everything from a big perspective, like I've got to do this, I've got to make this goal, I've got to achieve this thing, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Stop paying attention to all the little things, and that can drain life of a lot of joy. And I'm sure most people want to live a life where they have joy.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some that don't. I don't know. I don't think I've ever met someone like that, but I'm pretty sure most people want to live and have moments of joy to look back on throughout their life, so that there's at least a balance to all the not good stuff that they've had to go through. And in order to be able to do that, I think taking that time and giving yourself the time to take in those small things, even when it's just in your relationships, like, I don't know, someone made you a coffee because you said you had a headache or something.
Yeah,
and they didn't have to ask, they just made it for you because they were like, oh, here you go, darling. Things like that, those little things, like that could be nothing to someone, whereas to somebody else they could just want to cry because they're like, oh, you thought about me. It's I think taking the moments to the time to notice and be aware of all the little things, because when you do that, like I was saying before, the bigger things seem, well, the good bigger things seem even more amazing, and there are so much, the more you look for good things, the more you find. And it's the same for the other way around. The more you look for bad things, the more they will be there. So it's really up to the individual to want, well, they need to want to change in those ways as well. Like they need to want to do those things, because if they don't, that's okay. People have free will. Some people have been through such bad things that they don't know how to heal, and or they don't want to, because that's how they have chosen to honor the things that have happened in their lives, whether it's people that they've lost or things that they've been through. And I mean, that's an individual choice. But for those that don't want to stay in that place, which I'm hoping most people don't want to stay in that place, because they deserve to have love, they deserve to have joy, they deserve to have beautiful moments that they can hold on to and remember throughout their life. And it is possible for us to move through these situations, these bad situations, and heal. And I think the first thing is becoming aware of the fact that you even want to change things, and then taking small steps to change the way you look at things, because that's where it really comes down to, is how you perceive things.
How you perceive things. Yeah. I think that's a very well said. And to all the listeners, as you can see, what Emilie is trying to say, that you can want to achieve lots of big things, this thing, that thing, but at the end of the day, small things that you may think it's small things, even making a coffee, or even making a breakfast, or even, having a chat, or even having a sit down with your loved ones is still a big thing. It's not a small thing if you really look at from that angle, which is what I understood from you, Emilie. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
Yes. So with that note, I wanted to ask you the final thing is accomplishment. People look for accomplishment in life, thinking that life means I have to accomplish something. Life means I have to achieve something. Life means I have to do one thing, two thing, 10 thing. Is there a such thing like that, that you can measure your life in that way or that sense? Or is it you don't have to, as you said before, you just have to take every single moment and make move forward rather than bog down, getting, yourself putting into that situation of restriction mode. What's your take on that final accomplished point of view? You know.
Well, I really do think that it is good to have goals. I do
Mhm.
think it's good to have things to work towards, but I don't always think it's healthy when that's the only focus in someone's life, because I believe that there's so much more to just succeeding in a career or something like that, or whatever it is. But I still believe that most people have goals for healthy reasons. Like that, most people don't have a goal because they want to do something bad. They want to do something good, and I think that's a good thing. But
So how do
don't
you
always happen in the time that we think they're going to happen. Sometimes things take longer. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they happen way sooner, or they don't happen.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to just, one, like you were saying, take each day, each moment as it comes,
Yeah.
and do prepare for the future, but don't just live there. I think it's good to come back to the present so that you can enjoy the life that you're living at the moment,
Yeah.
rather than preparing to live a life that might not happen.
Might not happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not going to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So, what's the difference between a goal and a purpose? When people talk about what's your life goal or what your life purpose, there's huge difference. What do you think the difference is, or what do you think when people get bogged down with the goals, as you said, like, I want to achieve this medal, and then when you achieve that, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then is that's not a purpose, or is that a purpose? Because some people are born as a scientist, they do only research work, and that's their purpose. Some do only sports, and that's their purpose. Some do only art, and some do only singing, that's their purpose. How do you see goals and purpose? This is
well,
something.
to me, purpose is, to me, it's the same thing as fate, destiny, those kinds of things. And to me, it's whatever you've done and are doing in your life. That's your purpose. And whatever you continue to do, what you end up doing with your life is your purpose, whatever that may entail, whether it's you achieved your goals or you didn't. And I don't think that you can do it wrong. I don't. I think that we're meant to be here. We're meant to live. We're meant to live different lives, unique lives, to learn from each other, had to have different perspectives, even to have different philosophies about this kind of thing. We're meant to be different.
Yeah,
And
of course.
and the purpose is just to be here, to live, and to just, like we're saying, take it one day at a time. And because you never know how many days you got. You don't.
Yeah.
No one does. Even somebody who's like really healthy, I mean, they don't even know, like, so yeah, I think purpose is just whatever you end up doing. It really is. And you decide that.
Mm.
You decide that.
So in that sense, what I understood what you're saying is life is very, you don't have know what's the time. That means life is really fragile. And if that is the fragile, you have to take it with care,
Yes.
look at it very emotionally, sensitively, empathetically to your life.
Yeah.
You can sum that up like that? What do you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely. Looking after yourself and doing what is right by you. And I mean, right, I don't mean like doing whatever you want. Not always right. That's what a lot of teenagers get into, and that's why they get into drugs and things like that, because they think they can do whatever they want and there's going to be no consequences. But that's not the way things work. There are consequences. There are, things that happen because of everything. Every decision that anyone makes has things that happen as a
Yeah.
of that. So, but I think that's part of being a teenager, is learning that. That's why you go through that, so that you realize, oh, okay, well, by the time I have kids, I'll have realized that stuff, that's not healthy. That's not,
Yeah.
it's not going to lead to actually true happiness. It's momentary moments of highs that are not even natural, not natural highs. And they actually take away from the real life highs. So like things like looking at the flowers doesn't feel as joyous unless you're drunk or whatever it is. And then it takes away. And you don't realize it until you've gone through it. And anybody that hasn't gone through it, they don't know either. Not really. They might have been able to figure it out, but it's not the same as actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So experiencing, exploring everything, every moment, living the moments, creating the moments, but realizing the moments also, and then moving further, not just right or wrong, but actually that's what feels good, resonates with you, and also makes the environment and surroundings, because we are all living beings. So I think life is a very broad, it's not a topic which can be finished in 30 minutes or 35
No,
minutes or something
no.
like that, but it's
Talk about it
beautiful.
forever.
Yeah, it's a beautiful to uncover today the first topic of life, and we will continue this series and episodes, Emily, because I think you have touched on some beautiful moments that every who listeners are can understand the way life can be created, the way life can be designed by your own talents, by your own skills, and you just have to understand, and you just have to acknowledge, you just have to accept lots of things. As you said, acceptance is very important, and also little things that you can enjoy or you can resonate and you can still feel good about it. You don't have to go to a fancy thing or a fancy cosmetic thing to enjoy or to resonate. You can just looking at one flower, you can still be joyous. But if your state is not in the joyous mood, you won't enjoy that, right? Basically.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
beautiful. So, final message, Emily, to all the listeners in life, as we discussed today, the first topic, and I think it was very, very good to touch. What's your message to all the listeners who are listening? That if you want to say one thing that you want to tell to all the listeners about life in summarizing the whole thing.
Well, I think to summarize, for me, talking about life, I think the main thing I can just leave people with is something that they probably heard a million times, but that is live, laugh, love, and learn. I don't know if learn was always on there, but I added it because it makes and in order for you to live and love and laugh, you have to be able to learn, keep learning, keep growing, because that's what.
Yeah. I think we are all learners, and this is very well said, because people think that I have learned everything, but they don't learn everything at all in one life, in one journey. So keep learning is the only thing that they can do, because life is all about experiences, and life is all about learning through those experiences and moving forward. So very well said, Emily. I leave that with thought to all the listeners. As she always said, she said very rightly, live, laugh, love, and learn. That's beautiful. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Emily, for this beautiful conversation. I look forward to our next episode, bringing to you here live once again and uncovering more. And if you have any questions, please do write to us. And Emily will always be there to give us the feedback. But talking about this life itself is so refreshing, so important. So even if you don't want to talk to us, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your loved ones, to everyone. What is life? What's your purpose? And how you can make better for everyone. That's what I will tell. Leave with that thought. Um, with that, I thank you once again, Emily, for this beautiful conversation. And we will look into once again bringing you back.
Yes, I'd love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.